Okay. Thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to discuss, kind of following in my colleague Dave Tanzer's footsteps, the accuracy of the WaveScan unit. Dave mentioned the other folks that are involved in this project. We have folks at the Navy Medical Center San Diego, and the investigators and clinicians, researchers at VisX have also been immensely helpful. And I'd just like to reemphasize what, again, Dr. Tanzer said. We have a cooperative research and development with VisX because of the really compelling interest we have in evaluating technology which could improve refractive surgery outcome. And I think most of us will agree that the Wavefront technology has very high potential. We, of course, have no financial interest in this product. No one in the Navy does, including myself. And again, as Dave said, we are not here to endorse a product in any way, shape, or form. We did bench testing on the WaveScan unit for accuracy, and this is what we did on that previously shown bench test. We compared the sphere, cylinder, and axis to the model eye between actual and measured values. This is 315 measurements that were taken on the bench eye. The mean for the sphere and the cylinder, as you can see, was essentially zero. The standard deviation was within a quarter diopter, meaning that for sphere, cylinder, and axis, it was very accurate compared to the model eye. We then moved to clinical testing, where we did this under our institutional review board's approval. We consented the patients. The most important enrollment criteria is no prior history of refractive surgery and otherwise healthy eyes. We took 3 consecutive measurements were taken during each eye, and shown here is one of our, this is a Top Gun instructor on the left getting a WaveScan unit, and I'll briefly mention that at the very end. All the images were independently graded for quality by a research team. I'm going to talk about that in a sec. We had data from 178 of 234 eyes met this criteria. The first acceptable measurement of each eye was used for analysis, and then we compared the WaveScan refraction to the manifest sphere, cylinder, and axis. The rejection criteria were threefold. One is we rejected images that had an obvious vertex reflection from a poorly centered image on the eye, poorly centered device over the eye itself. And you can see that on the left side, that vertex reflection is obscuring the Hartmann-Shack image. Tear film breakup was another disqualifier, and you can see the mottled appearance on the center image there, as well as if there was on the right side, if 2 adjacent spots had to be interpolated by the computer because it could not find the image, could not find the spot in that, could not place it. That was also a rejection criteria. After we reviewed the images, we derived 174 eyes, 178, excuse me, eyes where we looked at the difference between the sphere, manifest sphere across the bottom, the WaveScan sphere vertically in a standard scatter plot, as you can see. The mean difference between those two was 0.02 diopters. The standard deviation was a half diopter, over 3/4 within a half diopter of intended correction. And the regression line, as you can see, had a slope of 1 and an intercept of 0, which is what obviously a very good accuracy result. Cylinder, same way. Mean difference between the manifest cylinder and the WaveScan cylinder was essentially 0 with a standard deviation of a quarter diopter, over 90% within a half diopter of intended correction. And the accuracy, axis accuracy, this is a little bit different. Again, this is going from 0 to 180 degrees, manifest axis compared to WaveScan axis. Standard deviation was a little over 12 degrees with about 3/4 within 10 degrees of the manifest. In conclusion, we found that the WaveScan measured refractive error with a reasonable level of accuracy. Certainly the lower order terms, which is all we were looking at in this study, The lower order terms agreed with manifest refraction. We are using this study to further refine the system to further improve its image acquisition and data analysis. As far as what's next for us, we are looking at a more detailed analysis of higher order terms in correlation with quality of vision. We have, subsequent to this study, analyzed a population that most people would agree would probably have very low higher order aberrations. That's a group of Navy pilots, actually Top Gun instructors, and we've looked at, or we are looking now at their higher order aberrations and how they compare to the quality of their vision, and coming up with some fairly interesting results. I think the Wavefront technology holds incredible promise, both as a diagnostic tool and perhaps to improve surgical outcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. That was great. Would you mind sharing with everyone what you started to tell me about picking up the Y sutures?
We have, in the analysis of the other population I was talking about, where we have very low order terms, we're not sure, as we're looking at very subtle higher order terms in this population, we think at this point that we might be seeing actual sutures, lens sutures, again in this young population with 2010 or 2012 vision, that what we're seeing on some of the aberrations are actual lens sutures. In that, again, this is still under investigation and we're still evaluating the results, but pretty fascinating technology, and it shows that potentially a very powerful tool to pick up those.
Yeah, good point. I asked Dr. Billy about this several months ago, maybe now about 9-10 months ago, about maybe picking up vitreal fibers, and he didn't seem to think it would be a problem, but that's very interesting. You're actually getting the Y sutures. Just for the audience's information, Steve and I had used the same exact device that came to Kansas City and then went on to the Navy. And Steve, I guess the question I have for you is, when you look at just looking at the spherocylinder refraction we're getting from the WaveScan unit, and you compare it to your very compulsive manifest refraction, how do you explain the discrepancy? Is it the fact that the Wavefront device is truly looking at those higher orders, and it's somehow, there has to be, one's right or one's wrong? I mean, there is some difference, but how would you describe that?
Well, you know, that's a great question. When the WaveScan measures sphere, it's measuring what's called pure sphere. And a patient's manifest refraction is the sum of whatever sphere the patient wants to put the circle of least confusion on the retina. And it's sort of like if you had no astigmatism, if you couldn't correct astigmatism with glasses, and you just ask simply, let me manifest a patient to the proper sphere correction, that sphere correction will be a different sphere correction than if you could also give the patient astigmatism in their glasses. You'd be giving them the spherical equivalent. And so perhaps patients who have higher orders of aberrations, like spherical aberration, want a different amount of sphere in their manifest to account, or to put the circle of least confusion perhaps on the retina to account for the spherical aberration term.
My question follows from that. How do you think the wavefront refraction will correlate with cycloplegic refractions?
We've actually looked at that also. We've looked at cycloplegic refractions, and they correlate roughly similar to the manifest. You know, accounting for some of the differences between that we're seeing, by the way, are accommodation, instrument accommodation, looking into the device. And so the cycloplegia takes away from that instrument accommodation, and so very similar results. Surprisingly, very similar results.
Great. Thank you.